All right. Welcome to Africana Independent Film Festival. The festival is celebrating 5 years of giving the people what they needed, okay? And what we needed to see was more representations of ourselves, more narratives, more depth, and appreciation of all that we have to offer as people of color. Um, my name is Sequoia Ross. I'll be your moderator for today. We have four amazing filmmakers with us, as well as one of the actors in one of the films. And I would like for you all to first, I want to give this precursor: is this is going to be a relaxed space. I want this to be more on a conversation. So if I ask a question and it pertains to your film as well, if I'm speaking to a filmmaker. Please jump in there and share your input as well. I would like for you all to go around and introduce yourselves briefly, and then we'll get started.
All right.
Okay. Hello, Bruno.
Hello.
Okay, Bruno's just
I'm
gonna give us his
starting.
name. That's it.
Ah,
Yes, we are recording, Bruno.
oh,
Go
okay,
ahead on and
okay,
tell us
great. Sorry.
who you are and your
uh,
film
um,
name. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm Bruno Henry. I'm the director and the lead actor of the short movie The Favor. I'm from Paris. We shot it last year, and it's a drama. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a story about. I can tell the story, or yeah.
What? Wait for that. Hold on for a minute.
Okay.
Let's go around and do introduction, and then we'll jump
Okay.
into that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. Who would like to be next? Antu, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Antu Yaqub, and I'm the writer and producer, and also one of the actors in our short film "Love and Submission," which is also a drama. It's a narrative short, and our director is here with us too.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Director, if you want to, we want to skip over and just talk to the director real quick. Hit us.
Uh, sure. My name's Londe Yusuf. I'm the writer director based out of New York City. And like Antu said, I'm the director for Love and Submission, the short.
Mm-hmm. All right, Felicia.
Hi, I'm Felicia Pride, the writer director of Tender, and I just want to thank the Africana Film Festival for having us and screening our short film.
Wonderful. Darius, last but not least.
Yeah, my name is Darius Dawson. I'm the writer director of Rodeo Film, which is a short about a black bull rider in rural California.
Okay, well, thank you. I want to thank you all for being a part of this 5-year birthday celebration of Africana. I have had the privilege of seeing all of your films. Some of you may have seen each other's work, but we'll give brief descriptions of them as we go into it. I want to just jump right in, if I can, with some of the common threads that I saw throughout your films. And I will start first with characters, and this is an opportunity for any of you to speak on this particular common thread. Each one seems to have lost a piece of themselves to make someone else whole. Okay, each one of your characters has lost a piece of themselves in order to make someone else whole. So I just want to see. I see Felicia over there nodding her head. Felicia, give us. Could you touch a little bit on your character and what you believe that piece that was lost?
Yeah, so Tender features two characters, Kiana and Lulu. Kiana is older than Lulu, and in certain aspects, they're Lulu's kind of like the younger Kiana. And so we see that Lulu has kind of given up on her dreams because of people telling her that she couldn't. So basically making herself small because of what people projecting their own fears and insecurities onto her. And then I think Kiana probably has experienced that as well. She left a playwriting career and, is kind of put it behind her. So I think that there's definitely a lot of that thread running through Tender of us, particularly Black women, because that's what Tender showcases, Black women shrinking themselves in order to make other people feel comfortable. But in this space that is created in Tender, they can be their full selves. They can let their guards down. They're safe. They can lean into their desires. And they can even talk about the ways in which they've made themselves feel small.
Yes, yes. Darius, do you believe that you could elaborate on how your character or characters have lost a piece of themselves to make someone whole?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, in my film, the main character is kind of living for his brother. Really, he's like he's basically just like a vessel for what his brother wants, and I guess it's like a personal thing, just kind of like dealing with family and just kind of like it was really like an exploration of like how our families can sometimes bind us into things that we don't really want to do. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Mine is definitely about living for others.
Yes, yes. Anyone else like to grab onto that?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I'd like to talk about the two characters in Love and Submission. We
mhm.
have two female characters, Urji and Amira, and I think with Amira, she so obviously has sacrificed a lot of herself to make the family work and to give her husband what he wants. And I think
Mhm.
Urji doesn't hasn't sacrificed in the same way, not until she
Mhm.
realizes her world has been somewhat of a lie. So it's like the
Right.
sacrifice kind of hits her later, and
Yeah.
it's something that she's ignorant to.
Yes.
But that's an interesting takeaway to see how the two of them are connected in that with everything else they have going on. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's anything, you know, Londe, if you want to add anything to that.
Sure. Once Sequoia made that comment, I thought about them both pouring into the husbands in order to, maintain their marriages, which is like a big
Yes.
sacrifice.
Yes.
And, that's something that generally happens a lot in that community. So it's part of the
Hmm.
reasons why it's part of one of the reasons why I wanted to be involved in the film, because my family is
Mm.
Muslim and I've
Okay.
witnessed and seen that resemble that story. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great analysis of it.
Yes. Very much so. Bruno.
Yeah.
Okay. How you feeling? How you and the translator feeling?
Yeah, I
Did
try
you
to
share your thoughts with
understand.
her? Or are you good to go?
Okay,
Yes.
my character Pascal,
Hmm.
the guy.
Yes.
Uh, I don't know if he really lost something because
Hmm.
I think he's a nice guy. He's
Yeah.
generous and
Yeah.
maybe he's a little bit fragile,
Hmm.
and he has his colleague, Christelle, who is in real distress
Yes.
because she wants to have a kid, and
Yeah.
she couldn't have a kid with because she has a friend, but she lies to her colleague who work with her, and because she really wanted to have a baby,
Hmm.
and she choose Pascal, this guy, because of his really kindness and generosity and
Hmm.
fragility also. So she looked after him and she gave him an appointment to her home,
Hmm.
and she asked him and convinced him to to to
Have
to
sex with her.
sex
Hmm.
with him,
Hmm.
uh, and Pascal, the guy, is he has a woman, he has kids,
Yeah.
but he in his life, this guy is so generous in general with people, and he
Hmm.
couldn't see someone really sad or bad, and I think he lose his comment on dit sorry, I look. Oh, yeah, a bit of his integrity because
Yes.
he wanted to, in her mind, in her heart, in his heart, to try to help this woman,
Hmm.
and
Yes. And that's really what I saw as the character. What he lost was some of his integrity because he was so his mind was set that he was not going to sleep with this woman, but he saw the pain that she was in. So that was a
yeah,
sacrifice for her wholeness. He sacrificed a little bit of himself.
yeah,
But you led into another theme that was common with all of you, and that was the weight or the heaviness of choices and consequences.
Yeah.
I first want to go to the wonderful folks of Love and Submission, because this is where I saw some choices and some consequences with the two ladies, one who was very aware and one who was not so aware, and so I just want to get right into, please let me enter your mind, because when we are watching this film, I mean, you can feel it. You like, oh my goodness, something about to pop off. So please, please share with us, Londe, what, as far as the weight and heaviness of choices and consequences, what were you thinking, making this film?
Yeah, sure. When Auntie presented the piece to me, I was like, wow, this is intense.
Yes, yes.
But and everything that I've made up until that point was more dramedy based.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this dramatic piece, and I wanted to make sure that I wanted to show the drastic change in Urgie's behavior once she got the information. That was
Yes.
key in this piece.
Yes.
Kind of
Yes.
showing the buildup of her emotions transforming throughout the film. And obviously, Amira, she came into the film with a specific goal. And I wanted to make sure that the audience empathized with her audacity to do what she did. So those were the two, points of view I came into the piece with.
Okay.
I didn't want anyone to. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, finish.
Go ahead.
No, go
No,
ahead.
I just didn't want anyone to be the bad guy.
Right.
So that it was
Right. With when you got yes. Of course. Onto writing it. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, to go along with that, whenever I write characters, I try not to have like a good guy and a bad guy. Like I really do believe we all live in these gray areas. So these two, I wanted it to meet both of these characters to meet each other in the gray area. And also the story is loosely based on, several situations like this that I know about in real life. So that the idea of consequences and choices, that's something I really wanted to explore. Where the film ends now, you kind of don't yet see the full impact of Damon's choices.
Right.
But we wanted to have this introduction, right? So that we can continue to build on this story, and explore if this could actually be a real, like, if it's a viable, choice for us, as and not just within the Muslim community, but specifically in the Black Muslim community, right? Can this continue? And I've always been curious when I heard about those other stories in real life. I was always curious about what would happen if the woman decided, well, I want to balance this out. So that that's another part of the story that we don't get to.
Right.
So, but this is really an introduction of that. And yeah, I do feel like you would think that Urji's a rational minded person, and you wonder, like, why didn't she just sit down and get the details when Amira finally, but it's
reveals.
Like, wait, she's a human being. She has emotions, and she's tried the whole time to just kind of handle this with care. She knows something's up, but she doesn't know what. And then, it's like she finally gets that explosion that I think she's earned. And with Amira too, I think people don't understand when they enter into these arrangements without permission, right? Which is what happened with theirs. There is still a desire, even when they do enter in with permission, there's a desire for there to be peace, right? And Amira understands that it wasn't handled correctly in the beginning, but she's really trying hard to get to the peace and kind of skip over the bumpiness.
Right.
And so, like, I did find myself, like, the way we worked on it, we started to feel some kind of compassion for Amira. I don't think it's easy to hate her, No, it's not. She's found herself in a very interesting situation, and she's trying to make it as comfortable as possible for Uji.
Yes, very much so. Darius, I want to ask you this also: the weight and the heaviness of the choices and consequences, especially once the brother decides that he is going to ride this in the in this competition. He's decided that he's not going to turn in his cowboy hat. The weight and consequences of that, of choices and consequences.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I didn't have this like kind of like clarity of vision when I did it, but I guess like in hindsight, it was kind of like we lose when we don't live authentically, when we don't live truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
we lose a part of ourselves. So that's kind of like what the ending, and a lot of the short kind of like it's a feature that I'm working on. So it's like takes pieces of like the feature and like puts it in there, and I expand on it a lot more in the feature.
Okay.
But really, it's just like kind of yeah. I mean, the consequences of not living openly, even in regards to like your family. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess that's kind of why the film ends the way it does. Getting
Okay.
hurt.
Yeah. Well, Darius led me right into Felicia, because Felicia, what Darius just said was, when you are trying to live your authentic self, and I think your character is really trying to live her authentic self, but she's grappling with that. She's grappling with that, especially because the life that she thought she was going to live, now she's on the edge of a bed with another woman who has brought her whole, has brought her some happiness, and she probably didn't even know that the source of happiness would come from the touch of another woman. So could you talk a little bit about her choices and what she's gonna face?
Yeah, I mean, I think they both are struggling with parts of themselves. I mean, you have Lulu, who's a younger character who, yes, is seems to be more free, more comfortable in her sexuality. She's queer, she's out, she's
Mm-hmm.
proud, but she also is not completely comfortable in terms of uh, what she really wants to do with her life and
Mm-hmm.
actually embracing what she wants to do in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there's a little bit of judgment that comes from her towards Kiana, who's older and seems to be settled in her ways and has a stable job. Um,
Right.
because I think I'm also interested in showing that it's not easy to live your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into the world and life hits you and responsibilities hit you and all these things. So Kiana is definitely struggling with, her own sexuality. I think she's probably in like a sexual rut at this point, and
Mm-hmm.
giving up on what her quote unquote dreams were. But finding that there is something for her with this stability, but wondering if it's too late.
Yes.
So I think they're both kind of struggling with completely living their authentic lives and completely being their authentic selves.
Mm-hmm. A few themes that present themselves in all of the works, in my opinion, are fertility. I saw fertility in many of the works, or lack thereof. Um, and I wanted to go to Bruno first to ask, why was this key in the narrative for his piece, fertility.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
I choose this story because it's something happened to me
Oh.
in real life, but not the same ending. And
Okay.
not the same ending.
Ooh. If y'all when y'all see this film, y'all gonna be like, "What was Bruno talking about?" Um, because Bruno, let me just give a quick synopsis. So, his character that he plays, um, sleeps with a woman who is having fertility issues, and so when he said that he had been in a similar situation, I was like, Lord, a woman done blindfolded him and climbed on top of him and took his seed from him. But no, Bruno saying the ending did not end that way. So amen. Okay, Bruno. Go ahead. Go
Yeah, no,
Lord.
no. I choose this story because um, for me, I can understand that a woman would like to be a mother. You know, it's really important to in my heart as a man. I can feel like, you know, it's really important for a human being to give life. You know, so
Yes.
and for me it makes sense, you know, and and for me, even if my character Kristen, she lied to this guy because she said she's alone, the guy she loves left, and for her it's the most important things in the world to have a baby. And she said, okay, I can live, I can pay you, I can give you some money, I can do everything, you know. And she lied to him because she tried, you know, everything to have a baby with his man, but it doesn't works, you know. And you know, in Africa, uh, they said when you can't have a baby, it's because Lord decided, you know, and you can't use comment on dit, le truc in vitro. You can use, you know,
A surrogate.
science
Oh,
to
science.
have a baby, because if it's not natural, because God decided, you know. But she want to save her couple, you know, and
Right.
but she's a nice woman, you know, but she's in really distress. And the most important things, she want to save her couple and to be a mother, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why she follows this guy in the beginning. That's why she look at him every day to see what he feel, what he is doing, what your
Right.
everything. And she say, okay, I'm sure I can have him, you know. And with a lot of argument, and also Pascal is a man, you know.
Right.
And I think even if he don't want really to sleep with her, but he said, okay, just let's do it quickly, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's it, you know.
It was good.
And I hope you understand. And that's
Yes.
it.
Oh no. We understand.
And
We
you know,
understand. We understand. On to
Mhm.
fertility. It was there, you know, and you didn't have to do a whole lot. We caught it with the pregnancy test, and then with the disappointment. So tell me why you chose for her character not to be pregnant.
Yeah, I think Urji, you know, for all intents and purposes, she's a very like she's a spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like she doesn't practice Islam as
Mm-hmm.
intensively as maybe Amira does, or I'll say strictly. Like
Right.
she's not so religious, but she is quite spiritual and she's
Mm-hmm.
well versed. Um, I felt like there is a little piece of what we feel like, not just in the Muslim faith, but I feel like in society in general, there's a worth attached to a woman who and her fertility,
Yeah.
right? So that's something I wanted to explore with Urji because it seems like she has everything that she wants, right? She has a husband who's, you know, lets her, because she's a poet, she teaches when she wants to teach. She's not really working if she doesn't have to. She was a political activist. So he marrying Damon actually took her out of a potentially bad situation in her country because she
Mm-hmm.
was so political and spoke up against the government. And you know, they moved to the States, and so she's evolved, she's smart, she's not an oppressed woman, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Right.
But then there is this piece of her that doesn't quite feel like
Mm-hmm.
she can give everything in this marriage that she wants to give until she produces a child. Like she wants to mother. She feels like this experience has been evading her. It's being she's being robbed. You know, she
Yes.
doesn't have family except for
Right.
her husband here. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's all wrapped up in like her sense of self-worth. It's also like needing the companionship, wanting to give that nurturing to someone because he works a lot and he's gone. you know. So I thought what an interesting balance it would be, where she has been trying for 5 years. This is the one thing in her life she feels like she hasn't mastered, if you will. You
Right.
know, she keeps cracking at it, and I want to investigate, like, what does that mean for us as women, and the weight we put on us to produce or reproduce, you
Right.
know. And then Amira, who, you know, she had no
Got her
problem.
two babies. Got her two
Yeah.
babies.
You know,
Yes.
and it's not like
Yes.
she's flaunting, but it's kind of, it's the
No.
reason why he has postponed telling Urji that he took a second wife, because
Right.
he wants it to be level. Yeah, he was sneaky, but he wants it to be on like level playing field, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants Urji to be able to have a child before he introduces his other wife and children. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why he keeps telling Amira she's not going to handle this well. Um, so yeah, those are the things I wanted to. That's how fertility came up. I mean, I know in my culture, it's such a big deal when you get married. You know, get
Yes.
them babies, bring them babies, make that
Right.
happen. You know,
Right. 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 Right.
and it's like, well,
For
what about now? Oh, go ahead.
no, no, no. Finish. Finish.
What I was going to say is now we have more women who are, you know, getting educated, they're getting their degrees, you know, and I'm specifically talking about like Oromo American women, because I'm of the Oromo, you know, ethnicity. But even if you look in the US, like, you know, people are, they're staying in school, they're, you know, like really trying to make sure that they're self-sufficient,
Mm-hmm.
and time is going by, you know,
Right.
and you know,
Yes.
so like now there's this new thing where have we kind of moved past this pressure for women in this world that we're living in, where we are achieving more for ourselves and setting up
Mm-hmm.
the life that we want to set up, right? um
Yeah.
I don't
And
know, I
sometimes
don't know if
children
you
and
have.
sometimes children aren't in that equation. And Felicia touched on that with her piece, with her character. She hadn't even considered having children until she couldn't have children. That was so strong. You know, you don't know you want something until you're faced with not being able to have it at all. And then you're questioning, well, did I want that for myself? You know, I wanted the choice for myself, and now my choice has been taken away. Felicia, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was really interested in exploring, you know, the reproductive issues that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Black women face, particularly around fibroids. And so the main character, Kiana, has just had a hysterectomy. And, you know, and sometimes the fibroids and the health, the racism in the healthcare system and all of this, um, where maybe you could have prevented, maybe the
Yeah.
hysterectomy could have been prevented and all these things. So I wanted to look at like,
Mm-hmm.
how does this impact Black women, racism in healthcare and fibroids, and we don't, the fact that we don't see that on screen that often. And then you have a woman who may not have wanted kids, but now she can, and she feels like the choice has
Right.
been taken away. And I was very interested in exploring that because so many of my friends and myself are dealing with these
Mm-hmm.
issues. Interesting because there have been women who have told me like this happened to me, or I, you know, after watching the film, and that's been a blessing that I didn't expect. That this piece, which is also about a lot of other things, people, some women have like sort of grabbed onto that piece about um, their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a scene, there's a dance scene, you know, the fact that Kiana has this scar and she's, you know,
Right.
yeah, that too, that some of these things can be traumatic for some women. Hysterectomies could be traumatic for some women, and they may feel, they may grieve. That's what's happening with Kiana, and she has to get back into her body. She has to get, you know, feel more comfortable in her body. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have Lulu, who's like, you know, the magic hasn't disappeared because
Right.
surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that sort of viewpoint and perspective as well.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Darius, you don't have the theme of fertility per se, but what I will say is it does have, I feel like the rebirth or being reborn, because the brother who has become injured is no longer able to be in the arena. He can no longer get on the bulls. And so his life now is being lived through his brother. So let's talk about that, the rebirth of one. So as he died and his career died, he then was reborn through his brother. If you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of like what I was like talking about earlier, when it's like like tagline for our film is like the bonds of family can easily become bondage, and
Mhm.
I
Oh,
guess
I
like
like
kind of like
that. The bond of family can become bondage. Oh, that's
yeah,
strong right there. I love that. Go ahead. That's really strong.
yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, and it's interesting because it's definitely like a love story or like a forbidden love story, and a lot of people think about like the love triangle. But for me, the biggest kind of like tension as far as like love goes is actually between the two brothers, because it's like you want to do what you can for your family. Of course, like it's natural to want to protect your family and make them happy. But at one point, does it start to impede on your own autonomy, your own like self identity, your own sense of identity? So yeah, yeah, it's definitely like a kind of complicated thing, which I'm sort of like work, kind of like after now that I've made it, I'm doing like a lot of thinking about it. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want you all to think a little bit about this as I go into my next line of questioning. But if you could describe your work in three words, based on the introduction of the characters, the climax, and the resolution, what would those three words be? Just think about that. Let that sit up in your brain a little bit. But Felicia, while you're thinking on that, I want you to elaborate on the connection between how we identify being a woman in correlation with anatomy and the ability to bring forth life. And this will definitely resonate with two films, your film as well as Love and Submission. Antu had spoke a little bit. She kind of opened the bag up a little bit, but Felicia, I want you to elaborate.
Yeah, yeah. Antu was talking about, the value that we place on women because of fertility. And what I was interested in looking at in Tender is the idea that the magic of being a Black woman is much bigger than um, what you have and don't have. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that magic can't be destroyed. Um, and that magic is often multiplied when you're in space with other Black women. So that's
Right.
I was very interested in exploring. And so my three words would be guarded, joy, and intimacy. Uh,
Mm.
because it starts out very awkward, but I was really interested in exploring emotional intimacy. Yes, they have physical intimacy, and I think that it was like hot butt naked sex the night before, but the day
Mm-hmm.
is really about them finding connection and finding a safe space and finding uh, and seeing themselves and seeing each other in a very intimate way.
Yes. I love that. Antu, do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Can
You
you
want me to
just give
repeat a
me
little
a
bit?
couple?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you.
Elaborate on the connection between how we identify being a woman in correlation with anatomy and ability to bring forth life. You spoke on it a little bit about how we value ourselves as women by if we can have children, but I just want you to elaborate because it was so important in the film. Um, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just probably an expansion of what I said before. I do
Mm-hmm.
think that there's a lot of weight that's put on us. And through my characters, I
Because you
think
spoke
it's,
on the time clock. You spoke on how we live on a time clock per se, as to some women have put some things aside and focused on family
yeah,
while others have focused on career. But is it always in the back of our minds though that we will become mothers at some point?
I think it's, there's so much that's fed to us through the outside from the time we're very little, through the
Mm-hmm.
screen, through messages that our families give us. I think there is a seed planted there at a young
Mm-hmm.
age. And as you begin to grow and you learn to define who you really are, maybe it's there, maybe it's not. I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's still, for some, I've met people who are, who are very clear in that they don't want to have children, right? Women. And I think as a society, we're still a little bit not clear on their perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and I find that to be a little confusing too, because, I personally believe, like, if you don't want to have children, you shouldn't, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of work involved. It's not just the production, the reproduction piece of it, but
Right.
there still is a lot of weight put there, I think. And I think with Urji and Amira, it's just the beginning for them in terms
Mm-hmm.
of, because Amira's kids are very young and Urji doesn't
Had
have
any.
any yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yeah.
it would they haven't really unpacked what the expectation is for themselves. I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering, like, how much of Urji wants to have the baby herself, and how much of it is what you said, packed up in the back of her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's a real conversation for women today, like
Yeah.
how much of it. And hearing Felicia talk about her character, because I think I saw your film when Black Film Space did a screening a few months back, and I remembered it, and I was actually
Mm-hmm.
really, yeah, I was blown away by how you were delving into that, because
Yes.
it did feel like, ooh, I don't know if I didn't know if I wanted to have kids. And the question I
Mm-hmm.
walked away was like, well, do you really want to have kids because it's
Right.
what everyone has said should happen for you, or
Mm-hmm.
because you actually feel this inner desire? And then why? Like,
Right.
I'm always questioning, like, why do we want to have kids? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
for some people they might feel like, well, it's just biological. This is it's survival. Our survival
Right.
depends on it. Okay, so aside from that, I'm curious about that question too. And I think that's something, as we further develop this story, we can delve into what is the need. For Amira,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's clear, like, her purpose all wrapped up in her husband and her faith.
Yes.
Her faith
Yes.
has
Yeah.
said that this is what you do to keep the faith going.
Right. To keep the
You have
marriage strong.
children to not only the marriage, but to preserve the religion.
Yes.
You should
Very much so.
reproduce to preserve our culture and
Yeah.
the way that we do things and keep it going. So, like, she's all wrapped up in that. I'm
Yeah.
curious as we work on this further,
Mm-hmm.
finding out why does Urji really want to have children?
So, Antu and Londe, what are your three words? Londe, I'll let you go first. What do you think your three words from the start to finish? What are your three words to describe this film? Because we're at the 10-minute mark, so I want everyone to get their three words.
I would say
I know it's
I would
hard.
say deliberation,
Mm-hmm.
confrontation, and then
Mm-hmm. And what was the last one?
revelation.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh. And revelate. I love that.
Okay.
I love that. Anto, I'm gonna give you a few minutes to think about it while I go to Bruno. Bruno, three
Yeah.
words to describe this film from
I
introduction,
think I would
climax, to
say
resolution.
compassion,
Mm-hmm.
uh, humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, être en vie, being alive, being alive.
Okay. Darius, what about your three words? Darius was ready. Come on, Darius.
Uh, yeah, no, I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna go the easy way out. I guess I'd say identity, bonds, and
Mm.
bondage. Easy for
Yeah,
me.
that's good. Antu.
I'm gonna say secrets, worth,
Mm-hmm.
and commonality.
Mm, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Lord, this conversation, we can have this conversation all day. I really encourage you all to see one another's works because they are so interconnected. Um, you can tell that by the words that you chose to describe your films, because we talked about, most of the films talk about identity and who you are, who you believed yourself to be, before you face the conflict of whatever the narrative was. And so I want to applaud all of you, one, because it is a short film, and I know some of you like me have gone to a movie for 2.5 hours and you leave there not knowing a darn thing. Okay. And so for you to be a filmmaker and capture so much so much depth and give your character so much life in such a short amount of time, that is a true talent. That is a true talent. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Um, because those short films were wonderful, and I applaud you. And I thank you for sharing your gifts with us. Thank you for being a part of Afrikana. If
Thank
anyone
you.
has anything they would like to share, I'm sure people want to follow you. People want to keep up with you. So if you can share your social media tags. Bruno, you go first. If you got to give them to us in French, just go ahead and give it to us in French. We love you.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and give it to us. Any of your social media handles.
All right.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram, and you can find me on LinkedIn.
Oh,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah,
LinkedIn. Yes.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And yes, it's Bruno Henry. It's my name, so it's
Thank you very
easy.
much, Bruno. It's super easy.
Thank you
Thank you.
for inviting me.
Oh, you're
Thank you
so welcome.
to appreciate my short movie, and we say big shit in French.
Oh,
So
okay.
for all the filmmakers,
I love
uh,
it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Big shit.
and in
Let's
French
cross
we
your
say
face.
yeah. And
Big.
thank you so much.
We learning
Uh,
something today. We learning all this stuff. Londa, where can we follow you? Where can we find you, baby?
I am probably the only Londe Yusuf on the planet, so you could just look up my name
Amen. All right. I
on
love it.
all
I love it.
platforms.
On all platforms. Okay, Antu, how can we
Yes,
find you?
I'm you. They can find me on Instagram under Antu Yakub. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter under Antu Abdi. And our film has Instagram and Facebook as well. It's Love and
Oh,
Submission,
good.
the film.
Okay. Thank you. Darius.
On Instagram, I'm Darius Dawson, DGA, and our film is a rodeo film.
And you said
It's
it's
like a
going to be a feature. Did you say
yeah,
the short has become a feature? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
We're shooting it in Oklahoma with like a mix of like professional and non-professional. So yeah, pretty excited.
Nice. Very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Felicia, how can we follow you?
Yes, Felicia Pride on Instagram and Twitter, and on Instagram, a tender movie. And then also we have tendermovie.com, which has extended playlists if you like the music and more goodies.
And I have one last question, and then we're going to end because this question has been on my mind. Darius, please elaborate. Please give us some tea on this love triangle. Now, you got a real entanglement. Before Jada invented this term, as far as relationships, you had an entanglement at the rodeo. Okay, you done gave us the black rodeo and an entanglement. There's almost so much juiciness going on. So tell me how you decided to put the woman in between the two brothers. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, like we've, like my whole team, I've been like meeting and following and know like a lot of rodeo people now, like, cause there's one all black, touring rodeo left in the U.S. called Just Bill Ticket, so we spent, a long time kind of like with them, and, this stuff is real, it's actually like not something that I've like made up, they actually have like crazy like scenarios, yeah. And then also, I think something that interests me as an artist is just like forbidden love, just like people who can't be together. So, when I kind of kind of came across this. It's like, oh yeah, because this is like really messed up. Ostensibly it's pretty messed up. On a primal level, I think we can probably all kind of like understand it. But yeah, I know it's kind of like touchy. I think especially like as black artists, a lot of times we have to be careful, like how we portray people. But I think a part of for me, I want to normalize black voices. Like a part of that is just showing us in just normal scenarios, just like kind of like just like seeing us. And so for me, what was important was to like show that these are like
Uh-oh. Darius, you're doing a little roboto. That's okay. I
something
think
like
it's there. We
Canada.
okay. Sound a little bit like Mr. Roboto, but
Yeah.
we understand what you're saying. The entanglement was two brothers, and the younger brother was in love with and having an affair with his brother's wife, and so she was at the rodeo seeing about both brothers. Amen. That's that's the entanglement I was talking about. And we thank Darius for sharing his insight. Are you drinking a whole bottle of wine? Okay, that's water. So I thought she had a bottle of wine taped into the head. I was like, that's the way to celebrate. I should have brought my
I
bottle.
thought that a little
I,
later on today.
I
A
was
little later.
like, I need to go get my bottle of wine. Um, thank you all so very, very much.
Thank you.
We're so excited about this year's
Thank
Africana. We
you.
just can't even tell you how excited, and even more so that you are a part of it. So God bless you. We wish you all the success. Continue to do films, continue
Yeah.
to write, continue to give us these really complex narratives about relationships. Relationships are not just one way. You all have proven that. There's so many layers and levels of who we are as people, in this world. So
Right.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Everyone
you so
have
much.
a wonderful, wonderful evening, and take care of yourselves.
Thank you so much. À
You're
Thank
so
bientôt.
you.
welcome.
Thank
Thank
You're
you.
so
you.
welcome. Bye bye.
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 Bye.